There are certain experiences people have that they rarely talk about, not because they are dramatic, but because they are subtle. They happen in quiet moments, in conversations, in rooms filled with people, in the small details most others pass by. Sometimes it's a feeling, a shift in someone's energy, a pause in their voice, or the sense that something has changed, even when nothing obvious has happened. And over time, some people begin to realize something unusual. They seem to notice things that others don't even see. And that realization raises an interesting question. Why do some minds notice patterns that most people completely miss? Let's talk about it. There is a certain experience some people have that they rarely talk about. It's the quiet feeling of noticing things that others seem to miss completely. Not dramatic things, not obvious things, but the small shifts, the subtle signals, the quiet changes in people's tone, their body language, the energy in a room. You might notice when someone's mood changes before they say a word. You might sense tension in a conversation long before anyone acknowledges it. Or you might feel that something is off, even when everyone else seems perfectly comfortable. And here's the interesting part. Most people who experience this don't think of it as a special ability. They simply assume everyone else notices the same things. But over time, a quiet realization begins to form. Not everyone sees the same patterns. Not everyone notices the same signals. And the difference can feel confusing, sometimes even isolating. Some people move through the world reacting to events. Others move through the world quietly observing them. Strange thing is, people who notice subtle patterns rarely learn this consciously. It wasn't something they studied. It wasn't something they practiced. Their minds simply began noticing little things, small changes, unspoken signals, a pause in someone's voice, a shift in facial expression, the moment a room's atmosphere changes. Most people move through social situations focusing on what is being said, but highly observant minds often focus on something else. The space between what is said, the subtle inconsistencies, the emotional undercurrents, the things that rarely get spoken out loud. And over time, this quiet awareness becomes automatic. You begin reading situations without trying, understanding people without asking, sensing emotional patterns before they fully unfold. But here's the part many people miss. This kind of awareness doesn't just shape how you see others. It slowly begins shaping how you experience the world. When you see subtle patterns long enough, you start seeing them everywhere. Earlier, we talked about noticing things others seem to overlook, but the experience of being highly observant often has another side. Because noticing everything means your mind is processing more information than most people realize. The emotional tone of a conversation, the behavior patterns of the people around you, the subtle shifts in trust, tension, or discomfort. And over time, this constant observation can create a very active inner world. Your mind begins connecting patterns, replaying interactions, analyzing behaviors, not because you are trying to overthink, but because your awareness is constantly gathering signals. Quietly, you may notice dynamics in relationships that others don't acknowledge yet. You may sense emotional shifts before they become visible. And sometimes you may understand what is happening in a situation long before anyone else does, which can create an unusual experience. You see the pattern, but you are often the only one seeing it. Awareness can be a quiet form of solitude, because not everyone sees what you see. Something interesting happens when someone becomes highly observant. From the outside, people often interpret that awareness in very different ways. Some see it as emotional intelligence, others see it as intuition, and some people don't notice it at all. Because most of this awareness happens internally. It doesn't always appear in conversation. It rarely appears in dramatic ways. Instead, it shows up quietly. You listen more. You observe more, you speak carefully, and sometimes you choose not to say what you notice, not because you're unsure, but because you understand how complicated those patterns can be. And not every realization needs to be spoken. Over time, many observant people develop a unique relationship with awareness. They learn to notice patterns without always reacting to them. But eventually, another realization often appears. Reflection clearly doesn't always mean speaking immediately. Sometimes awareness simply means understanding. Earlier, we said something important, that some people notice things others seem to miss. And for many of those people, this awareness has always felt natural, just part of how their mind works. But over time, many begin to recognize something else. Noticing patterns can be both a strength and a responsibility, because awareness often brings clarity, but clarity also changes how you see the world. You begin understanding people differently. You recognize emotional dynamics earlier. You see connections others may only notice much later. And that awareness can feel powerful. But it can also feel quiet, because many of the patterns you notice exist beneath the surface. And sometimes the most important realization is simply this: you are not imagining what you see. Your mind has simply learned to observe the world carefully. And sometimes that quiet awareness is exactly what allows you to understand things more deeply than most people ever will. Some people react to the world. Others quietly understand it. And sometimes awareness like this can feel unusual, because when you notice subtle patterns, you begin seeing things that others may not recognize yet. The shifts in behavior, the quiet signals in conversation, the emotional tone beneath what people say. And over time, you begin to understand something important. Not everyone experiences the world the same way. Some people move through life reacting to what happens. Others move through life quietly observing it. And if you're someone who notices the small details, the patterns in people, the things that are rarely spoken out loud, then your mind may simply be wired for deeper awareness. And that kind of awareness can be powerful, because the more clearly you see patterns, the more